All right, so if you've looked at the first two slides, you should realize that we have two different methods to actually solve this problem. So I'm going to show you the two different methods that we've learned in the first two slides and apply that to A and then apply that to B. I'll use one method for A and then one method for B, the other method for B. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the completing the square method to determine what the maximum value or minimum value would be for A. So we have f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. And we want to complete the square. And remember that we want to factor the leading coefficient out of just the x terms first, not the constant, the negative 1. So we would have negative 2x squared, and we're factoring out a negative 2 from 8, so that leaves negative 4x. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the blank here and bring the negative 1 over here. We're not factoring out of the negative 2 out of the negative 1. So that's what we're left with. And then now we want to figure out, we do the completing the square step and figure out what goes in this blank. So we take the negative 4 and we're going to divide that by 2. Negative 4 being this value right here. And then divide it by 2 and square it. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. We're going to square that. And that's 4. So we need 4. So we're going to add 4 here. That's the completing the square portion. And this is just to keep the balance of negative 4. So now essentially we've added 0. Okay, we don't want the negative 4 because that's not part of the part that's completing the square. We want the negative 4 outside the parentheses. So we would distribute the negative 2 to negative 4. And we would get negative 2 x squared minus 4x plus 4, and distributing negative 2 would give us negative 2 times negative 4 outside the parentheses. We're still subtracting 1. And then we would get negative 2. And then factoring this, we would get x minus 2. You can check this, but it's x minus 2 squared if we factor out this trinomial. And then we would be left with plus 8. This is plus 8 minus 1 is plus 7. Okay, so we can determine the HK. The HK would be 2, because it's the opposite of this, because it's minus h, and then 7. So that's our vertex. That's our vertex. Our vertex is 2, 7. So that tells us that we have our max or min. Our max or min is located at our k value, our 7. So k equals 7. That is our max or min. So this is max or min. Good. Okay, so, but we want to determine, is it a max or min? This is the easy part. We're just going to look at the leading coefficient. A is equal to negative 2, which is less than 0. So since that is less than 0, then that means our parabola is pointing downwards. You can use Desmos to check this out. If you graph this, we'll notice it's pointing downwards, but we can just look at A and determine that. If it's pointing downwards, we have a maximum value. So it's not a min, it's a max. Okay, so our max is located at k equals 7, and that's it. We're done with A. All right, let's look at B. Okay, so B, we're going to use the other method, which is looking at, we're going to be using the vertex formula, a negative b over 2a. So I'm going to go ahead and just write down the function right here. G of x equals x squared minus 3x plus 1. And I'm going to write down my a value. A is just 1. It's not written there, but you know that's 1 if there's no number in front of it. B is equal to negative 3, and C is equal to 1. And we want our x-coordinate of our vertex is located at x equals negative b. I'll just write it out. Negative b over 2a. And then negative b. B is negative, so we need a negative in there. Over 2. A is 1. So that would give us 3 over 2, 3/2. Okay, so, and then we want to determine our y-coordinate of our vertex, and that's f of, or in this case it's g, if we have function g of negative b over 2a. And since negative b over 2a is 3/2, we just plug that in. And so we would have 3/2 squared minus 3 times 3/2 plus 1. That's equal to 3/2 squared is 9/4 minus 3 times 3 over 2, which is minus 9/2 plus 1. Let's get a common denominator. That would be 9/4 minus 18/4 plus 4 over 4. And that would give us 9 minus 18 is negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. Negative 5 over 4. Let me just double check it. 9 minus 18, negative 9 plus 4. Yeah, negative 5/4. So that is that would tell us that our vertex is located at 3/2, the value we calculated here and here, and negative 5/4. So that tells us that our k value is negative 5/4. And we want to figure out if it's the max or min. And since A, so this is a max or min. And in this case, A is equal to 1, which is greater than 0. So that tells us that we have a parabola that's pointing this direction, and we have a minimum value. We have a min and not a max. So we have a min located at k. The min value is k equals negative 5/4. Okay, so hopefully that helps and that makes sense. Let me know if you have any concerns about this process, and use whatever method you prefer. If you prefer this first method that I showed on the first slide, then go ahead and use that method. If you prefer this second method I showed on the second slide, using the vertex formula, go ahead and use that method. It's up to you. All right, let me know if you have any concerns.